Look at you. You're powerful. You have dreams. But why then is there this quiet, insidious voice, that automatic negative thought, whispering its toxic lies? It's paralyzing you. It's telling you you're not enough. You'll fail. And you should just quit. Steal pie. I'm here to tell you that this internal enemy is not your identity. It is just a habit. Today, we are not going to talk about feelings. We are going to talk about FRTRing that negative pattern. We are going to install a new, unshakable operating system and take back the control of your mind, your power, and your destiny. Are you ready to be our AKR, negative, ETM, EKNG, and live a magnificent life? Let's go. And that brings us to the first and perhaps the most crucial step in this entire process of breaking free. Acknowledge the enemy. You see, for years, maybe decades, we've allowed a relentless negative tape recorder to play inside our minds. We treat these recordings as gospel truth. If the voice inside says, you're going to fail, or you're not smart enough, or you'll never finish that project, we simply accept it. It's a silent, constant drone that shapes our reality, poisons our confidence, and dictates our behavior without us even realizing we've given it permission. But here is the critical distinction you must grasp right now. Negative thoughts are not facts. They are habits. They are deeply grooved pathways in your brain that have been reinforced by repetition. They're what I call your automatic negative thoughts, your ANTs. Think about that for a moment. ANTs, they are tiny, they are persistent, and they can destroy your metaphorical picnic basket of happiness and potential if you let them swarm. And they will swarm unless you learn how to identify them and exterminate them. Your mission, starting today, is to stop being the passive listener and become the thought detective. You have to turn the lights on in the dark corners of your mind and see what's actually crawling around in there. If you don't know what you're fighting, you can't win the battle. What does your ANT sound like? For some, it's the all or nothing ANT, where if something isn't perfect, it's a total disaster. I missed one deadline, so I'm a complete failure. For others, it's the fortune teller ANT, where you predict a negative outcome without any evidence. I know I'll bomb that presentation, and my favorite, the ever-present, should ANT, the one that beats you up with self-inflicted rules. I should have done better. I should be further along by now. These ANTs are insidious because they are masters of disguise. They don't arrive in a red cape yelling, I'm a toxic Lee. They sneak in as your voice, masquerading as rational self-assessment, protective intuition, or just the way things are. They sound so convincing because they have history with you. They have been whispering these lies since you were a child. But you have the power right now to strip away that disguise. How do you do it? You start by interrupting yourself. Anytime you feel a strong, draining emotional shift, sudden drop in motivation, a spike in anxiety, or a wave of hopelessness, stop and ask yourself this key question. What was the preceding thought? That's where the power shift begins. You have to literally write it down. Keep a small notebook or use your phone. When the thought says, no one values my contribution, you write that exact sentence down. You pull the thought out of the murky, emotional well of your subconscious and place it in the cold, clear light of day. When you look at it on paper, it begins to lose its emotional grip. It stops being a part of your identity and becomes just what it is, a sentence, a hypothesis, a statement that may or may not be true. This act of labeling of calling a catastrophic thought a fortune teller ANT or a self-critical thought a should ANT is an act of profound mental freedom. You are separating who you are from what you think. You are sending a clear signal to your nervous system. I see you, but you are no longer in charge. The moment you label that negative thought, you create a space, a powerful, instantaneous gap between the stimulus and your response. This is not about wishing the thoughts away. It's about acknowledging their presence, understanding their nature as mere repetitive programming, and then preparing to dismantle them. The first step to breaking this pattern is simply this: become aware of the script your mind is running and recognize that you are the director, not the recording. Now, once you have identified the enemy, so you've done the hard work, you've turned on the lights and you've identified your ANTs, you know what your automatic negative thoughts are, and you've labeled them. That's a massive step. But what happens next? The moment you recognize the thought, the momentum is already building. That negative thought is like a tiny spark, and your body is already preparing to pour gasoline on it. Your heart rate is subtly changing. Your muscles are tightening. Your emotional chemistry is already shifting to reflect the perceived threat. If you allow that spark just a microsecond to ignite, it becomes a full-blown inferno of anxiety, fear, or anger. And once the fire is raging, it's nearly impossible to control. This is why the second key to breaking negative thinking is all about gaining mastery in that immediate, critical moment, the power of the pause. The legendary psychiatrist Viktor Frankl once observed that between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space, he said, is our power to choose our response. And in our response lies our growth and our freedom. Most people tragically live their lives with a 0 millisecond gap. The negative stimulus, the critical thought, the frustrating email, the annoying traffic jam hits them and bam, the negative reaction is automatic. It's a knee-jerk, unconscious response driven by old programming. Our job now is to widen that space. We need to create an immediate physical, mental, and emotional interruption. We need a circuit breaker, because the truth is you can't stop the initial thought from popping into your head. You can't. Thoughts are like birds. They're going to fly over your head, but you absolutely do not have to let them build a nest in your hair. How do you create this gap? You need a pattern interrupt, a physical anchor that is so immediate and so powerful that it slams the brakes on the negative train of thought before it leaves the station. Here's a simple, profound technique you can use everywhere. Starting right now, when you catch an ANT, you've identified it, you've labeled it, do 3 things instantly: breathe, anchor, and ask. First, breathe. I'm not talking about your shallow, everyday breathing. I want you to take a deliberate, deep belly breath. Inhale slowly and deeply, filling your lungs from the bottom up, counting to 4, hold it for a moment, and then exhale, counting to 6, pushing all the stale air and tension out. This isn't some new age gimmick. This is biology. A deep, slow exhale physically signals your parasympathetic nervous system, your rest and digest system, to turn on and immediately lower the alarm bells your negative thought just triggered. You are using your physiology to manage your psychology. Second, you need an anchor. An anchor is a small, immediate physical act that breaks the mental pattern. It could be squeezing your hand into a tight fist and then instantly relaxing it. It could be tapping your fingers together 3 times. It could be a simple, silent mental shout of STO or say NCO. I want you to choose one of those physical movements right now, a small, subtle action. This is your personal circuit breaker. When the negative thought appears, you fire the circuit breaker. This quick physical shift instantly draws your attention away from the mental narrative, and it anchors you back into the present moment in your body. It is impossible to be fully stressed and fully present in your body at the exact same time. Third, ask. Immediately after you breathe and anchor, ask yourself this one simple question and say it out loud or in your mind with force. Is this useful? Not, is this true? I will get to that later, but was this thought right now moving me closer to my goal or further away? You are cutting through the emotional drama and applying a utilitarian filter. The answer to whether the thought, I'm a fraud, is useful is always a resounding no. Mastering the pause means internalizing this sequence. Identify the ANT, breathe, anchor, and ask. This creates that vital sliver of space, a moment of choice, where you transition from being a victim of your thoughts to being the conscious operator of your mind. It is in this pause that we find the key to all personal power, because the true enemy is not the thought itself. It is the unconscious reaction to the thought. And once we have created that space, now we have control. We've identified the ant. We've used the power of the pause, and we've created that critical space between the thought and the involuntary emotional reaction. The thought is floating there, neutralized, no longer running on pure unconscious momentum. But it's still there. It's still whispering its toxic message. This brings us to the most empowering phase of the process, a phase where you stop being the defense attorney for your fears and become the prosecutor for your potential challenge the evidence. You see, most negative thoughts are not based on current reality. They are based on distorted memories, childhood fears, or sweeping generalizations. When that thought pops up, the one that says, you can't do this, or they will reject you, or this is too hard and you should quit. It sounds authoritative because your mind has played it so many times. But here is the secret of the mind. Your brain is not designed to make you happy. It is designed to keep you safe, and safe to your brain means predictable, comfortable, and risk-free. Your negative thought system is merely an overzealous security guard trying to scare you out of action. So how do we disarm the guard? We stop arguing with the feeling, and we start arguing with the thought. We put that automatic negative thought on trial. You are the judge, the jury, and the cross-examining attorney. When you bring that specific thought to the stand, let's use the one. I'm going to fail at this presentation. You must ask 3 non-negotiable questions. First, what is the concrete, indisputed and supporting this thought? And I mean concrete. I don't want feelings. I want facts. Did you fail the last 7 times? Did you forget your name? Did someone physically tell you that you are incapable? You have to search your recent history, not your deep-seated fears. Often, when we genuinely search for concrete evidence, we find the supporting argument is paper thin. It's based on a single past mistake, or perhaps no mistake at all, just a generalized feeling of nervousness. The evidence is almost never as solid as the emotion makes it feel. Second, what is the evidence against this thought? You have to intentionally hunt for the counter evidence. Have you successfully finished a project before? Have you spoken to a group, even a small one, and survived? Did you put in the preparation time? Did you research the topic? Your mind naturally focuses on the negative, so you must force it to see the positive data points. By deliberately focusing on your past successes and your current efforts, you are essentially presenting a rebuttal to the negative narrative. You are showing your brain the receipts of your competence. Maybe the thought is, I'm bad at my job. The evidence against it. I haven't been fired. I get paid. My boss assigned me this new project. I received a positive review 6 months ago. Suddenly, the sweeping, absolute statement dissolves into a flimsy opinion. Third, and perhaps the most powerful question, how would I advise my best friend if they had this exact thought and the exact same evidence? Think about it. If your closest friend came to you and said, I'm going to fail because I made a typo on an email 3 years ago, you would laugh and coach them back to reality. You would never allow them to beat themselves up with such flimsy logic. Yet, we allow our inner critic to use that exact logic against us every single day. Why? Because we forget that we are also worthy of the same compassion and objectivity we so easily extend to others. This process of challenging the evidence is not positive thinking. It's accurate thinking. It's correcting the cognitive distortion and replacing an emotional bias with objective reality. When you consistently cross-examine the thought, you strip away its authority. You realize that the automatic negative thought is not a declaration of destiny. It is merely a flawed hypothesis. And once the hypothesis has been proven false, once the evidence is refuted, you're ready for the final empowering step. So you've done the work. You've intercepted the A&T, you've put on the brakes, and you've cross-examined the evidence. You've taken that negative, fear-driven thought, you've brought it into the light, and you've proven that it is at best a gross exaggeration, and at worst, a complete fabrication. The old thought has been neutralized, but here's the thing about your mind: nature abhors a vacuum. If you simply tear down the negative structure, the negative thoughts will rush right back in to occupy the empty space. You have to be proactive. You have to build something new and more powerful in its place. This is where we engage in the process I call the reframe. Deliberately choose an empowering perspective. This is not about slapping a happy face sticker on a catastrophe. This is about taking the exact same set of facts, the challenge, the setback, the fear, and consciously assigning it a meaning that serves your growth, your future, and your potential. It's the ultimate act of mental resourcefulness. The meaning you give an event literally dictates the emotions you feel and the actions you take. Change the meaning and you change everything. Imagine a situation: you just started a new business and your first major pitch completely falls flat. You hear the old thought rush in: I'm a failure. I knew this was too hard. I should go back to my old safe job. That's the toxic meaning. It generates feelings of defeat, leading to the action of quitting. But you, the empowered individual, stop, pause, and challenge that thought. You see the facts: the pitch failed because you misread the room and lacked certain data points. Those are the facts. Now, you apply the reframe. You consciously choose an empowering meaning. Instead of, I am a failure, the new meaning is, this is a difficult puzzle I get to solve and learn from. Or, this is not a failure, it is data collection. I just found 10 ways that don't work, which means I'm 10 steps closer to finding the way that does. And notice the shift. The facts didn't change, the pitch still failed, but the meaning changed completely. The new meaning, this is data collection, generates feelings of curiosity, determination, and focus. These feelings lead to the action of analyzing the pitch, adjusting the strategy, and refining the approach. You have shifted from a victim mindset where life happens to you to a problem solver mindset where you happen to life. To master the reframe, you need a set of powerful questions ready. When a difficult situation presents itself, don't ask, why is this happening to me? That question leads you down the path of negativity. Instead, ask yourself 2 empowering questions. First, what is great about this problem that I haven't noticed yet? This forces your mind, your magnificent creative machine, to start searching for opportunity instead of just focusing on loss. It could be, what's great about this failure is that it showed me exactly who my true supporters are. Or, what's great about this is that I now know the depth of my commitment. I'm still standing. Second, what must I learn from this in order to ensure I never experience this exact same pain again? This turns pain into a purpose. It converts the setback into a blueprint for future success. You are harnessing the energy of the negative experience and directing it towards a positive, future-focused outcome. Every challenge you face is a neutral event until you assign meaning to it. You are the sole meaning maker in your life. You are the ultimate alchemist who can take the lead of disappointment and turn it into the gold of wisdom and resilience. The reframe is the conscious decision to take back control of your internal narrative, recognizing that your power lies not in controlling external events, but in mastering the meaning you give them. And once you've installed this new empowering meaning, you must immediately solidify it. So we've done the deep mental work. We've neutralized the negativity, we've challenged the lies, and we've reframed the meaning of our challenges into empowering lessons. We have installed a brand new positive operating system in our minds. That's fantastic. That's liberation. But a powerful mind by itself is still just a spectator if it doesn't translate thought and emotion. This is where the 5th key point comes in, the true tangible bridge between inner work and outer success, small wins, big momentum. Action is the antidote to anxiety. Anxiety, fear, and sustained negative thinking are all based on one thing: immobilization. The negative thought, I can't do it, is designed to freeze you, to keep you safe in the familiar discomfort of an action. It doesn't want you to move because movement equals change and change equals risk. When we feel overwhelmed, paralyzed, or flooded with doubt, the natural tendency is to wait until we feel ready. We wait until the anxiety dissipates. We wait until we feel confident. We wait until the stars align. I'm here to tell you that this is the fundamental flaw in most personal growth strategies. You do not wait for motivation to act. You act to generate motivation. Action is the engine that drives confidence, not the result of it. How do we start the engine when it feels too heavy to crank? With small wins. The human mind thrives on proof. If your brain is accustomed to the narrative of, I fail, you have to overwrite that programming by delivering undeniable evidence that you succeed. And you do this not with a grand, terrifying leap, but with an intelligent, small step. Think about a major project you're putting off. Maybe it's a huge report, starting a new fitness routine, or launching that side gig. When you look at the whole mountain, the fear of the climb is massive, and the negative thought, this is too much, is instantly validated. But if you take that mountain and break it down into pebbles, into tiny, insignificant tasks that you absolutely cannot fail to accomplish, you change the game. If the goal is launch my business, the first small win isn't make $1 million. It's write the name of the business on a piece of paper. If the goal is run a marathon, the first small win isn't a 10-mile run. It's put on my running shoes and walk out the front door. The power of the small win is not in the outcome, it is in the process. When you complete that tiny, easy task, your brain rewards you. It delivers a little hit of dopamine, a neurochemical reward for accomplishment, and logs a piece of data success. It's a physiological confirmation that you are competent and capable. When you stack one small win on top of another, when you consistently deliver proof of competence to your brain minute by minute, hour by hour, you start building momentum. Momentum is everything. Momentum is the state where the energy required to continue is less than the energy required to stop. It's like a massive flywheel, hard to start, but once it's turning, it keeps going effortlessly. Your negative thinking is built on the momentum of an action. You break that cycle not by arguing with the fear, but by sidestepping it entirely with action so small that the fear doesn't even bother to show up. The fear says, don't do the big scary thing. You say, fine, I'll just do the tiny, non-scary thing. And when you do that tiny thing, the fear realizes it missed its chance and you've already moved forward. So whatever challenge you are facing right now, identify the absolute smallest, easiest 5-minute action you can take. Do not aim for perfection, aim for completion of that small step. That small action is your sword against the giant of anxiety. Every time you act, you are overriding the negative script with a positive, tangible reality. This consistent, positive action is how we make the change stick because we are using our life experience to rewrite the blueprint of our potential. But to make sure this new blueprint lasts a lifetime, you need one final essential habit. We've arrived at the final foundational piece of this breakthrough process. We have learned how to fight the negative thoughts, how to challenge their logic, and how to use consistent action to build unstoppable momentum. But all this hard work, all the mental discipline, and the conscious effort will eventually erode if we don't build a new, sustaining emotional environment for ourselves. You see, for most of our lives, we have treated ourselves like a harsh, demanding drill sergeant. We've used shame, fear, and relentless criticism as our primary motivators. We've believed that if we are hard enough on ourselves, we will somehow be strong enough to succeed. Yet, think about the most successful and resilient people you know. They are driven, yes, but they operate from a place of deep inner certainty and emotional resilience. They have mastered the final key. Cultivate your inner cheerleader. Practice self-compassion and gratitude. This is not about being weak or letting yourself off the hook. This is about being strategically effective. When you make a mistake, and you will make mistakes, that's a guarantee of growth. Your old programming screams, see, I told you were an idiot. You always mess up. The self-critical loop begins, shutting down your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for learning and problem solving. By contrast, when you apply self-compassion, you change the inner dialogue entirely. Self-compassion means treating yourself as you would treat your absolute best friend. If your best friend just experienced a failure, would you tear them down? Would you call them worthless? Of course not. You would offer them understanding, validation, and a supportive path forward. That is the voice you must cultivate within yourself. When you mess up, the new voice says, that was tough. I made a mistake, but I am not defined by that mistake. I am a human being in progress, and now I will learn from this. This compassionate response calms the nervous system, keeps the learning centers of your brain engaged, and allows you to analyze the situation objectively instead of dissolving into shame. It's the ultimate energy saver, ensuring that the precious resources you need for action aren't being wasted on self-abuse. Hand in hand with this inner kindness is the practice of gratitude. Gratitude is the conscious, daily decision to focus on what you have rather than what you lack. It is impossible for your mind to hold deep fear or anxiety while simultaneously focusing on genuine, heartfelt gratitude. These two emotional states are physiologically incompatible. A daily gratitude practice is your emotional stabilizer. It doesn't have to be a monumental task. It can be as simple as pausing for 60 seconds when you wake up and genuinely feeling appreciation for 3 things. The roof over your head, the warmth of your coffee, the loyalty of a friend. When you anchor yourself in appreciation, you shift your perception from scarcity to abundance. You train your focus away from the potential pitfalls towards the actual resources you possess. Think of it this way, your inner critic is like a leaky pipe constantly draining your energy and confidence. Self-compassion is the sealant that plugs the leak, and gratitude is the fresh, invigorating water that refills your reserves. This is not just a nice feeling. This is the necessary nutrient for sustaining long-term positive momentum. You have learned how to break the negative thinking cycle, but the only way to ensure the cycle never restarts is to build an inner world defined by unconditional support and profound appreciation. Treat yourself with respect, acknowledge your effort, celebrate your wins, and forgive your necessary stumbles. You are on this journey, and you need your own cheering section more than anyone else's. Be your own advocate, your own healer, and your own greatest fan, because the ultimate goal is not just to stop the darkness, it is to turn up the light.